everyone, welcome to the Book Dragon. My name's Michelle, and today I'm joined by author Richard Ceasor. Hi, Richard.
Hello. Thank you for bringing me along.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us. And your book, Grandma, I Don't Want to Go to Sleep, is this week's book tour book, and you've very kindly agreed to be interviewed by me. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you some questions.
Ask away, and hopefully you'll like my answers.
Oh, I'm sure I will. So, your book features a young boy who doesn't want to settle down to rest at bedtime. Is he based on yourself or anyone else you know?
Well, before I answer that question, is it a young boy? Uh,
Hmm.
see, the theme of my book is about ambiguity, you know,
Okay.
and the reader should be able to see a bit of themselves when they are reading, and children love to see themselves. So, yeah, that makes a difference.
Yeah. All right. That's interesting. Thank you for challenging me on that. So, is the child based on yourself or anyone else you know?
Well, yes and no.
Hmm.
I don't know many children that want to go to bed at bedtime. You know, we usually have a little bit more fuel in the tank that we would like to expunge from our systems before we go to sleep. Even though most of the time we already have burned that energy, but don't really know it yet. And what I found in this one was that a lot of children uh, can identify with this. And so that was like kind of a beginning of the hook. I don't want to go to sleep. So what are we going to do instead?
Yeah. And that's where all the fantasy elements come in under the sea and everything.
Exactly. This child with this fantastical imagination and the incredible job that Thelma Murata did to capture the child's imagination. And you notice I say the child, I don't say the boy or the
Yeah,
girl. You know,
definitely.
as he takes the trip,
Yeah.
because I want this book to be actually looked at as literature as much as a children's book so that the adult will be getting a story at the same time that the child is, but not necessarily the same story.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And obviously, grandma's an important part of the story, and it was really lovely to see the relationship between grandparents and the grandchildren represented. Is this
And
something that's been important in your own life, Richard?
very, and
Yeah.
and that is something that actually relates to me directly because as a small child I lived in a duplex with my grandparents and family, uncles, aunts on one side, and my mother and myself and my sister on the other. So all I had to do was go through the backyard, through the back door, and I was at grandma's house. Didn't like dinner at mom's house, go through the backyard, through the back door, and to grandma's house. And of course, grandma is going to give you what you want to eat.
Oh, that
So,
sounds lovely.
so it was the exposure to the entirety of the family, mom, aunts, uncles, sisters, brothers, all in one house. And so that was delightful. And the other reason why it was so important to me to utilize grandma as the person putting the little boy to bed is as an elementary school teacher, I saw a lot of children being raised by their grandmothers because for whatever reason the mom was not available. And I noticed that they didn't get an opportunity to see themselves in a lot of the books that were read. And I thought it was so important for them to understand that their family unit was also legitimate and something that they should see. And so I wanted to give them an opportunity to see themselves when they read a book in class.
Yeah, oh, that's really wonderful. It's nice to have that representation. And you mentioned there about your teaching, and I was wondering if your work as a teacher and educator helped you with the process of creating a children's book.
Very much so, especially while I was teaching elementary school, because you get to see the width and breadth of the imagination of those children. And each one of them, I tell them all, you're all genetic originals. There's only one of you in the world. and you should treat yourself as such, and to give them an opportunity to express themselves and display those wild imaginations when they might live in environments that might not necessarily allow them to do that. There is a certain freedom in literature, as they say. You can go anywhere, be anybody, see anything. And I wanted them to be able to experience those kind of things, even in my own book. And there's where those fantastical voyages begin.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. And as well as your writing, you're also a talented singer. So can you tell
Uh,
our viewers about this aspect of your life?
well, I actually I'm this says I am Motown. You
Yeah.
know, I actually went to the Motown Museum and got to sing on the microphone that
Oh,
David Bowie
wow. So
actually
that's in
sang
Detroit.
in Detroit.
Yeah.
Yes, and but we have been rated one of the top Motown bands here in San Antonio, Texas, and I come from a tradition of singers. My mother and my father. There's a book on prevalent gospel singers in Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm from, and both of them are actually in that book. And the funny thing is that I remember saying, I will never be out there singing in front of people because, we used to be in church from like breakfast well through dinner. It's time for Richard to go to sleep by the time we got out of church, you know, you know, and I said, I'll never do that. And then I look at the group, my father standing in his quintet with his guys, and here I am standing with my a cappella quintet, because I also sing with an a cappella quintet. And I looked at the similarities in the picture and I said to myself, you know what? That old cliche of never say never, right? It because here you are, even though I wasn't singing gospel, I was singing doo-wop in a quintet, just like my father before me. It's kind
It's funny how things come around.
of full circle.
So do you have any other books planned then, Richard?
Matter of fact, there's one that is almost finished. I'm just waiting for that wonderful Thelma Murata to finish the art. And this book is for the people who, let's say, they might be in the military overseas a lot, or a parent that has to go on trips a lot, and so they're not home often, or maybe even they have to just work 2 or 3 jobs, and so they're not there. And this book will let them know, even when I'm far away, know that I'm with you every day. That's the title. It's another forever love tale, and it's to let children know that even if their physical presence isn't there, they're with them all the time, because in your minds, you know that even wherever you are, you're thinking about your children. Even though I don't have any, I know from what
Yeah.
my mother used to tell me that it's so. You know,
Mhm. Oh. Well, thank you. That sounds like an absolutely beautiful book. So we'll look forward to that one coming out.
I look forward to getting it to you.
Oh.
Elma, come on, let's go.
Get trying. Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure to interview you today. And Richard has a book signing in our shop at 6 West Road, Stockton-on-Tees tomorrow. So come along and pick up your signed copies of Grandma, I Don't Want to Go to Sleep, which you can see behind me and behind Richard there on the shelf as well.
Please come and buy several.
Yeah, one for all your friends and family as well as yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Really appreciate the time.
It was truly a pleasure.
Goodbye
Anytime.
for now.
Thank you.